It was early autumn, and the first snow had already fallen in Manitoba. The very sight of it made Patsy and Peggy long for their old home in the country, where they used to live before they moved into the city. "I'd love to go and see it again," said Patsy, who was just over 12 at the time. "So would I," said Peggy, who was 11. "Then why don't we?" questioned Patsy. "It isn't far, not more than 3 or 4 kilometres at the most. We could walk it some afternoon." "Let's," said Patsy. And so it came about that one afternoon, a little while later, the two girls set out together for their old home. The paved city road soon changed into a winding country road that led them through the forest. With snow on the trees and bushes, it was a very pretty walk. 2 hours later, they arrived at the clearing where the old cabin stood, in which they had enjoyed so many happy years. They walked around it several times, peering in at the windows and recalling all the pleasant times they had spent there in days gone by. The afternoon went by all too quickly. Soon dusk began to fall, and the girls decided it was high time they started back to the city. They didn't want to have to pass through the forest after dark. So bidding the old cabin farewell, they began their homeward journey. In the fading light and the awful stillness of the snow-covered forest, they began to feel very much alone. "Isn't it quiet out here?" said Patsy. "Dreadfully," said Peggy. "I wish we hadn't stayed at the cabin so long." "So do I," answered Patsy. "It's getting very dark, isn't it?" "I'm feeling a bit frightened," whispered Patsy. "Are you?" "Yes, I am," said Peggy. "They say there are bears in the forest, especially in winter time." "Bears!" cried Peggy. "I hope we don't meet one." "Don't," said Patsy. "You're making me feel creepy." They walked on in silence for a while. Even their footfalls, cushioned by the snow, made not the slightest sound. What with little breeze that there had been in the afternoon had quite died down. There was not a movement anywhere. Or was there? Suddenly Patsy stopped. "Look over there," she stammered, her teeth chattering with fright. Did you see something?" "You mean that bush over there on the right?" "Yes," said Patsy. "Watch the lower branches. I'm sure I saw them move." You're right," said Peggy, now all a tremble herself. "They are moving. Oh dear, what can it be?" Then they saw it. A big black head with a long nose peering out at them. "A bear!" they cried together, petrified with fright. "Oh!" wailed Peggy. "What shall we do?" He'll eat us up. I know he will." "Shh! Be quiet," cautioned Patsy, who could hardly speak for fear. "But what shall we do?" wailed Peggy. "What shall we do?" "We can't do anything but pray," responded Patsy. "If we run, he'll chase us." "Can you pray, Peggy?" No, you pray, Patsy, and I'll say amen." So Patsy prayed. It was a very frightened prayer. "Please, Jesus, there's a bear in the woods close by, and we can't get away. Please help us. Please save us from the bear." Then it was that they heard another sound. At first they thought it was another bear. It was coming straight towards them through the forest. But this time it wasn't a bear, it was a man on a white horse. And the horse was so white it seemed to be part of the snow as it moved swiftly through the trees. "Look out!" the children called to the rider. "There's a bear over there. He's behind that bush. We saw it ourselves." But the man on the white horse didn't seem to mind. Instead, he rode right up to them. Then he smiled, turned his horse towards town, and said kindly, "Follow me." Not knowing what else to do and more glad for company, the children followed. On and on they walked, the man on the white horse just in front of them. "Who can it be?" whispered Patsy. "I don't know," said Peggy. "I don't recognise him. Perhaps he will tell us when we get to town." When they reached the edge of the forest, the rider on the white horse turned, smiled again, called goodbye, and galloped away, vanishing as mysteriously as he had come. "I wonder who he was," said Patsy as they hurried on into town. "I don't know," said Peggy, "but don't you remember how we prayed for help? And it was just afterwards that we saw him. Could it be that Jesus had sent an angel to save us?" "It could be," exclaimed Patsy. "Maybe it was. Maybe it really was." "Maybe it was. Anyhow, when I met Patsy some time ago, she was quite sure that Jesus did send someone to save them from the bear that day, and I believe she was right. Don't you?"